Welcome in, everybody. I managed to make it home with Micron 10 instead of 01s. I guess the moral is never trust the bins, but we're gonna give it a try and see. It's quite a bit bigger tip on these. So that's the 3 that I like to usually use. So the mark is quite a bit bolder. This background is made using the Daniel Smith Primatech watercolor sticks. So that's what gives us the nice, that lovely granulation. Hello, Jan. Good to see you. How are you? Jan says, boy, all is well. That is a fine, fine way to find oneself. So I often, excuse me, I shop at a nearby art and craft store, and they keep all of the Pigma Micron pens and Posca markers and some other art supplies locked up. So you have to have somebody come and lock the case, and you have to ask them to pull out what you want. And I had asked for O1s, and they're indexed on the top of the cap ish. And instead of O1s, they gave me 10s. And I think they're actually a broader tip than the Sharpie Ultrafines. So, I don't know. Going back out and returning them seemed like more trouble than it was worth, so I thought I might give them a try. And I'll probably find a use for them, but I don't love them for this. It's very dramatic, and I think I prefer an outline, but just not anything that's quite this bold. So I'm gonna try adding in some of the O3 for the smaller rocks, and we'll see if they work together. Let's hope they do. If not, it's just a piece of paper. Yeah, this immediately feels much better. PN. Jan asked you, do I like their PN pen? She hasn't tried the PN. I haven't tried it. because I don't know what it is, but if you tell me more, knowing me, I'll probably get curious and want to give it a try. Yeah, pigment is made by Sakura, I believe. Yep, Sakura. They make Jelly Roll and they make quite a few other pens, and I've used quite a few products in the Sakura line. I'm not, there are some things in my assortment of art supplies that I'm really nuts about. Like right now, I'm really nuts about the Daniel Smith uh, Primatech granulating watercolors. Not sure if I like the sticks. I would probably like them in pans more, but I'm trying to figure that out. Um, I like these pens because they are pretty much when they're dry, they don't they don't re-wet. They don't bleed and flow if you get them wet. So they're perfect for this use. I feel like I go through them really quickly. Like there's not a lot of ink in them. So if I could figure out what kind of pigment ink they take, I could probably figure out how to um, get some more ink inside of them. But it's not designed to be refilled, certainly. So if anybody has any suggestions, if you're on Replay Crew and you have a pigment ink that is waterproof, is basically kind of um, and pigment versus dye-based inks, because the dye-based inks tend to work their way through the paper over time, and the dye sort of bleeds out. The pigment tends to stay put and be more of an archival material. But if you have another brand of pen you like, please drop me a recommendation in the comments or in the chat if you're here. One thing I do really like about this pen is that it always, the ink always flows. It's very consistent. As long as I keep them capped, and I'm pretty good about that habit of keeping the pens capped. So I don't think I've really left one uncapped on the bench overnight or anything like that. And they make it easy because the cap, I like that the cap just fits onto the barrel of the pen. So I'm less likely to lose the cap that way. Which means I'm more likely to recap the pen when I'm done using it. So but I'll occasionally set them down on the workbench and then I'll come back to them in a few minutes. And I notice the ink always flows nicely, and they tend to have a sort of a linear progression when you're coming down to the end of the ink. So whatever the ink delivery system is works pretty smoothly, and I like that. Yeah. Okay. Jan says the PN stands for plastic nib, a fine to a medium line weight. So you can press down and adjust the line weight as you go. Ah, yeah. Thinking about that. I'll keep an eye out for those next time I'm at the art supply store, and I'll maybe pick one up to give it a try. I tend to seek a uniform line weight in these, but on the bigger ones that I do, maybe a varying line width would add something to them. So, yeah, do you use them? You like them? I'm curious to know what application, like for things that are more cartoony, or do you do mixed medium? I'm choosing to fill in these little spaces. Yeah, most of the time I leave them blank, but I used Lunar Black watercolor, and the granulation is so dark and lovely. I want to bring that granulation up by really hitting the dark areas and getting them quite dark. Often I'll fill in these little spaces with lots of tiny little pebbles, but I think today we'll make it a little artier. Hello, Rabbit. Welcome in. Good to see you. Yeah, I am pleased with that. I really think the darkness adds some drama to it. Okay. Good morning, says Rabbit. Well, it's still evening where I'm at. Hmm. So Jan says that she hasn't tried them yet, but she does Zentangle type art. So I will be interested to hear how they how they go. And then, Randy, I believe you also do something you call reverse coloring. So, ooh, I was gonna start this one, and I just realized I could see there's a little bit of shimmer in it, and I will set that aside for the day when the pen is almost dead, because the shimmer can really get in there, and it can seems to block the nib a little bit. I don't know if you guys were here for our experiment at the end of um, last live stream, but we mixed some Thio Violet with Lunar Black and some um, the Windsor Blue red shade with Lunar Black. We were experimenting to see if we could get something that was in between maybe in the neighborhood of the Moon Glow or the Lunar Violet and Lunar Blue through the Daniel Smith line. So once those dried down, so they were very, very dark at the end of the last stream. They were wet and they just looked very dark. But I thought you guys might want to see what they look like when they dried down, because they're very luminous, and the granulation is just a lot of fun on those. Let's just sketch one of those up and see how it goes. And since it's so dark, I think I will again start with that number 10. Hello, Kyla. Welcome in. Good to see you. Oh, neurographic. That's what I was kind of after, the neurographic art where you round the areas in between is a bit of that, some of the neurographic type art. So, hi, I'm glad to see you here, Kyla. I just had to scroll back and take another look. Sometimes there's such a little tiny space for the chat to be in it. If I don't look right up, it just zips right out of my eyesight. Yeah. I should do some neurographic art one of these days. I often have the paper already painted up before I get started, and I think the way I've seen it done, a pigment marker or a permanent marker is used on the paper to make various arrangements of lines, and then the areas where they cross over are rounded off, and then paint is brought in, or some sort of a media is brought in. And I guess it's on the list of things I'd like to do, which, oh, you guys like me, it's a really long list. The older you get, the longer the list gets. Rabbit, that would be wonderful, yes. And I'm with you there. Like, I know that there's somebody who initiated it, and the name escapes me at the moment. I've seen kind of a handful of people who routinely do content on the neurographic art. think one of the first places I saw it was on Instagram with Andrea Nelson, and she also has a YouTube channel. I, I enjoy her approach a lot. She's very cheery and she just has such a warm smile, and it's really inviting, when somebody who's got a sparkly personality like that is showing you something new. It adds to the encouragement. Alrighty, that name is Pavel Piskarev, Piskarev, a Russian psychologist, architect, and author, created neurographic art in 2014. I've seen a couple of different approaches. One is that as you visualize the paper, you might find that you have an inclination to draw in a particular way, and the assignment is to instead draw in the opposite direction and to counter the impulse. And then I've seen others who approach it and just say, well, just squiggle however you want to, and then squiggle a little bit more, and then just work with it in a very kind of a gently intuitive way. And from my perspective, I just am here to encourage everybody to do art of any kind. So, whichever lights your fire, any art is better than just sitting around and thinking about, uh, you know, a perfect sort of an art. So it is Rabbit continues, the neurographic art is to help one form new pathways in the brain, to work through already formed patterns that have been created into new pathways. So that would be, I believe his method is the one where, like, if you feel like drawing a curve on the bottom right corner, you draw a line on the upper left corner. You try to break out of what your inclination is. And and I know that with particularly when you're talking about anxiety, and I'm talking about pathological anxiety that is gotten out of hand and it's begun to interfere with your life, or depression, which has exceeded a sad mood that's connected to a specific event. It becomes a generalized kind of a thing. What we do see with that on functional MRIs and other studies are that the brain has begun to operate in loops. And so finding any kind of a technique that will help to change those neurological pathways can interrupt the thought processes that we experience as anxiety or depression. Kind of nice to think about being able to take some actions to address those things that are troubling us without having to um, not having to medicate them away, or not having to rely solely on therapy. I know when I've struggled with such things, I felt at times like very powerless over it. So, learning anything, whether it's neurographic art or what you might learn in counseling or in therapy, helps you to feel like you've got some more power over those kind of things. And when you feel like you've got a little power over it, you feel like you can make progress. So, um, I have a Bachelor of Science degree in psychology, and just in my the last 2 years of college, the university I was studying at added art therapy, and it was really a new modality. So they had managed to get the programs accredited, and it was still I was going to say it was still kind of in the experimental phases. I don't know if that's an accurate way to describe it. It was in its beginnings, and I'd kind of looked at the program, and I really wasn't sure whether or not it would continue to be supported by the university and whether it would be embraced by um, counselors and psychologists. But it has proven itself. So now that university has art therapy classes as part of the curriculum for undergrads. Back when I was there, I think it was a master's program, graduate program at any rate. All right, Rabbit. It was lovely to see you in tonight. Boy, I start talking about college and it just empties the room out. It does. It sounds like work, doesn't it? Think about those days and I don't know about that that 10. Okay. Really got myself used to the 0.03. Hi, buddy. have that goop. Your eye does not look good. Can I have that? Yeah, that's better. Thanks for coming in, Jan. It was, as always, lovely to have you in chat. Oh, often I aim to have a little bit more lively energy. This week has, it's just, this felt a bit hectic, and so I was feeling the need for just some quiet time. But it's certainly, it's not required that you guys be quiet in chat. So, Barbara, hello. Hello, and I'm sad that it's already good night. I was just thinking about you quite a lot in the last couple of days. You were on my mind, so it was lovely to have you say hello. And in case you were wondering, my thoughts were I hope that you had been out into your garage studio and had a chance to work on your paintings. I'm glad to tear this calendar page off myself. It's it's just not the same. Mom, uh, my mom really just, I don't even know how to describe it, but she just made the holidays happen in our family. I mean, aunts, uncles, grandparents, everybody. It just, my mom was the oldest of her siblings and the oldest of her cousins, and the holiday making really fell to her. And after she passed away, nobody could really get their act together to do holidays. And I've got an uncle who he keeps to himself. Every time I see him, he says he says lovely stuff like I remind him of my mother. Okay, that's terrific. And but then he follows it up with, it's just too hard to see you because you remind me too much of your mother. Alrighty, okay. I can see where that's a thing, but I also kind of feel like, dude, work through that. And maybe that's not the kind of problem that you want to share with the daughter of the person who has passed away. Anyway, so there is some kind of gathering, but I am a person who doesn't have kids, and I can't quite figure it out, but they have managed to exclude me yet again this year, so it was not a great day. And it baffles me because my mom was like, we had these solid holidays. It seemed like it was an important family tradition. And I can't for the life of me figure out how to get it going without her here. Oh, good. Barbara says that she's gonna make some time to paint. That's terrific. Yeah, Barbara, it's not just you. I have had just weird scheduling the last few weeks. My heart, it kind of just, it depends, because after the heart surgery, I've just got these I had weird sleep cycles before, but like I've been going through these phases where it feels like one of my long-acting nitroglycerin kind of wears off, and so if I've had stress, then I'm experiencing cardiac pain at night. So I'll see the cardiologist here in a couple of weeks, and I think we're just going to switch the time of day that I take the med. But I find it pretty hard to sleep when that's going on, and so I would get up and do live streams. Because like if I'm sitting up straight, it doesn't bother me too much. But then my sleep cycles get kind of wonky, and this is way too much information. Sorry, but anyway, I've just kind of been on a different schedule, I guess, is probably the short way to put it. And so I've had I've I think my last few live streams have been actually daylight hours. So I think that's a time when, like, people in other time zones are at work or getting their dinner or stuff. So, um, but looking at the all things YouTube, my live streams that seem to have done the best were the ones that I ran at like my time, 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. And I'm looking at the numbers, and I'm also just like, I refuse to believe, really? Those are the ones, that's the time of day? That's when you folks want to see this? Um, okay. I guess I haven't quite accepted that or wrapped my brain around it, but those were the live streams where we had really a big group of people and a lot of great chat about uh, various art projects. So I guess if 3 a.m. is going to be our time slot, it maybe again, I just don't know what to think about that. So I tried one this week. I think it was like 4 p.m. West Coast time, and I I just have this idea. It's not borne out by any evidence, but I have this idea. If I could get a live stream going during daylight hours, we'd have more people. It might hit a little well better. It really didn't. So, but I do have the feeling that I've been at this for enough months now that I really ought to settle into a schedule that does make it easier for viewers to uh, and subscribers to have a program like you've got some predictability with it. So I I have not been a person who really embraced schedules and that sort of thing in my life. And I've had a lot of so-called straight jobs where you got to be there at 8 and you got to work till 5. And even when I owned my own business, that had set hours, and I'll put it this way. I worked a lot of hours, and then there were set hours that the shop had to be open, and I had to be there. I did okay with that. So I don't know. Some of us in the world just we really we really chafe at the thought of having to be on a schedule. But there are advantages, I guess. I'm told. I don't know. Leave me a comment. Are you a scheduled person, or are you just let the schedule run free? I haven't worked for a number of years, so my schedule has gone from the things that you need to do at a particular time of the day to a schedule that is these things need to be done on Saturday, these things need to be done on other days of the week. And mostly the things that are really I stick to doing at a particular day of the week are actually the cat related things. She gets a cat box overhaul no matter what on Saturday mornings. And the things for me, like, if I can make the grocery stretch another 2 days and not have to go to the grocery store, that works for me. I'll be darned if I'm gonna, like, every Tuesday it's grocery day. Nope. I kind of like this phase of my life where I can just let my day unfold if that's what I want to do. Kind of interesting to be working on this particular piece. It was painted with just standard watercolors that didn't granulate at all, and uh, I'm enjoying myself enough, but I think these ones with the granulating colors are really they're a lot of fun. There's a unpredictability that's visually exciting. But I think this one was actually put together using my pan of vintage watercolors, and I had to guess they were probably from the 1960s or 50s. Hey, Craft Zone. Good to see you. Thanks for chatting. Faison Calligraphy Z1. Hi. Hello. Welcome in. And you as well. You as well. India, right? Hannah? Did I remember that correctly? Nice. I had a look at your channel after the live stream the other day, and you had some really fun ideas for cards. You're very welcome. So I know it's a little bit challenging because the live streaming is going now. But if you leave a comment after the live stream posts, or if you leave a comment on one of the other live streams, people can click on your name and they can click through to your channel and see what you're up to. So I always like to encourage people to leave a comment, especially if you've got a channel. And that way, arty people can find other arty people. And also, I like comments. I like interacting with you guys. There's that too. Yeah, I like those channels where people kind of can make some connections and I really appreciate people who come and spend time. I have no idea how many videos get uploaded to YouTube every day. So I was thinking about it and I was wondering, I wondered if it was a million videos a day. As you know, it's got to be more than thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. It's probably, there's just some crazy high number. And it's kind of a cool surprise that we can find other artists who are like minded. And you guys have to cut me a little slack because when I was in high school, we didn't have computers. We just had calculators. you know, um, it wasn't just an app on your phone. A calculator was, bigger than a modern cell phone. And we certainly weren't allowed to take them into math class. Or for the people on the other side of the world, to maths class. Uh, so in my household, we had a telephone that was attached to the wall, and it was something called a party line. And we shared it with, I think at one point there were 5 other households who shared the telephone line. So you would pick up the phone and you have to listen to see if there was a dial tone. And if somebody was having a conversation, you'd have to set the phone back down and wait for them to be done. Well, that was in our house for all of us. I think I was probably around 15 years old before there was enough phone lines for everybody in the neighborhood to have their own telephone. So when I get this old brain of mine to think about things like being able to live stream and talk to people in India when I'm on the west coast of the United States, how my brain doesn't just explode, I don't know. But I think it's pretty cool to be able to talk so easily to folks all over the place. I know, it's just. No. The, and these youngsters today, like, they have no concept of what it would be like to, if you, I can remember lots of times as a kid, my mom would say, "Well, if you want to talk to your friend, just run over to their house. Get out of my kitchen. Get out of my hair." Hi, Maya. How are you? Well, I do tell stories a lot, so you're in the right place, Craft Zone. Craft Zone Hannah. So, Maya, I have a question. Did you know you're a bit younger than me, but um, when I was a kid, we had a telephone, and it was something that we called a was called a party line. We had we had individual phones, but those were only in the really fancy neighborhoods of the town where I was. And there wasn't enough lines. So when they put in telephones, they would just add more households to the line that was already there. So there were 5 households that shared one telephone line. And I can remember picking up the phone, and then somebody would be talking, and you'd have to wait till they were done with their conversation before you could put an outgoing call. And a lot of times, if somebody was calling our household, like you would get a busy signal for hours and hours just trying to get a call to go through because there were all of these households using the telephone line. And it was probably, I want to say, around 1973, 74, before we finally had enough wires for everybody in the neighborhood to have their own individual line. And I wondered if in Norway, did you guys ever have party lines, or did you were you able to just have a telephone line that was just for your household? That was a really long question. Now my cousins lived on the other side of town. They lived in a fancier part of town, and they always had their own individual phone that they didn't have to share with any other neighbors. Oh my golly. You're a 21st century kid? And wow, function of light one. Hello. I'm telling the kids stories from the 20th century. We had telephones and they hung on the wall. And people would get and the handset was connected to the wall, right? You didn't just like walk around with the phone. So the phone had this curled cord, and some households would buy a very long, like a 20-foot cord between the handset and the part where you hung the handset up, so that we could. Can remember being a teenager and wanting to have, you know, one of those phone calls. You're talking to your friends and you don't want your parents to listen, and you could stretch the phone cord like out of the kitchen and down the hall into a into a closet to have a little bit of privacy. There was no like taking your phone out and wandering around. Yeah. Yes, dials, of course, right? The dials, and if you didn't bring it all the way back around to the stop and then let it go, you'd miss dial. Oh, so Maya says now. Maya grew up in Norway, and she says she's not sure she ever had a party line, but she remembered that there were phone operators that had to manually connect you to the right line. Okay, we never had that. The phone at the my grandparents' farm, they did have to do that because it just you picked up the handset and you clicked it, and then an operator would come on and you would tell the operator what number you wanted. But the phone in the house that I was in when I was a kid had a dial on it, so you could enter the number yourself. And then later we had the keyboard that looks like, the keyboard that pops up on the cell phone now. And those were buttons that you pushed and they each had an individual tone. But the dial phones just had, like, if you dialed 1, it just clicked once, and 2 was click click. And so you would put your finger in the dial, bring it around, and let go. And as it returned to its place, it would, make 8 clicks. Uh, it just blows my mind how we went from that kind of technology to what I'm looking at here, where I'm live streaming an image from a camera in my telephone. I mean, seriously, just head exploding. Yeah. So I've just been working my way through some drawings tonight. I just thought it was a good night to maybe just do some quiet drawing and see who wanted to come in and say howdy and see what y'all were up to. I worked on a couple more backgrounds with the granulating watercolor. Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I do think about these things from time to time. But like in my grandparents' time, they went from using a horse to do work on the farm to having cars. Like you might take a horse into literally. My great grandfather would take a horse into town, and that they had cars and things like tractors with engines and flight. I want to say, what was first flight? 1921, 23. So we went from that to like jumbo jets in the well, jets were more 60s, but we had definitely big, Pan Am prop planes that were flying people for vacations across the oceans. And I always think like my grandparents they had to deal with an awful lot of uh, technological change, but I think my generation has seen. I don't know. I don't even know if I could have imagined some of the things that we have today from where I was as a kid. It's really wild. But I don't even know where the heck we're going to go in the next 40 or 50 years. But I have a strong suspicion that AI is going to be driving an awful lot of it. Yeah, Maya's describing the dial phone was a pain in the. Oh my goodness! Wait a minute. Hey, I think we finally figured out the. Sorry, guys. We just had a technical thing come up the other day about how to pin messages, and I just found a menu where I can pin a message. So, excuse me a minute. Yeah, all right, back to the phones. So Maya's saying that the dial phone was a pain. Um, that it would take forever to dial the number because it didn't take long to put your finger in the dial and bring it around, but you had to take your finger out and the dial had to return itself to the start position. And here, local phone numbers are 7 digits, long distance are 8 digits, and if you're dialing another code, it's like 11 or 12. So it's a lot. And Maya says she would forget who she was and have to start all over again. And uh, yeah, that was me too, especially because I've got dyscalculia, which is like dyslexia, except it's numbers. So numbers just I can't hold them in my mind's eye; they just tumble. Um, yeah, I if you if you can ever find the videos of modern teenagers trying to trying to make a phone call on a dial phone, it, it made me laugh so hard I just had tears running down my eyes as they were putting their fingers in it, and not a one of them could figure out you've got to bring the dial around and go back, and they couldn't have they couldn't have called for help if they needed it. Yeah. So no, if somebody get back to the other thing I just spaced out on, which was pinning a comment. Alrighty. So could we do that on the horizontal feeds or only on these vertical feeds? Is that where we're able to do that? I know. It's a watch the old person learn the new tech moment for us. Yeah. So we were trying to pin comments the other day in okay, well, it just seems really straightforward now. Maybe I don't know. I don't know why I couldn't do it the other day. But we were trying to pin the welcome to chat, please be nice, that comment that we sometimes need. Not in this chat. You guys are always just pretty cool. Okay, I don't this little one is so beautiful. I really like it. But then look at this big one that I did today. What do you guys think? Small one? Big one? Oh, I remember this one. Maya, this was the one that we thought looked like a plum or a grape, where it gets that kind of beautiful color to the skin of the fruit. Oh, I uh I don't have any problem with being old. Most of the time I find myself just going like with my hand on my hip going, "You people don't like I have life experience. Why aren't you listening to me?" Like I feel like I have wisdom and I equate that with being old, but perhaps um I've never really had much vanity about my aging body, so and I'll tell you, you get old and you think, well, people should listen to you, and they still don't. How are we doing on time? I want to say, I think this one is beautiful, but I think for time's sake, let's do this one, and that'll take us to the stopping point for the video. How's that? I wish I could remember what colors I used in this because it really, it's really beautiful, and I think I might have used Naples yellow. Hey, buddy, are you helping with the tripod? Can you not? Do you want to come up here and say hello? Come here, buddy. Nope. Fully in cat mode. I was trying to talk her into showing her little kitty face. I like both of them too. And you are absolutely successful. I won't hear otherwise. So what do I have in here? I've got I used a little bit of green earth and some soda light genuine, and that little bit of reddish in there is the piemontite. And I think I just used just a couple touches of hematite genuine. So, and a little of the Verona green earth from the Lucas line. So everything granulating and just some soft earthy colors. I guess it blues and greens. I don't know. Do you guys think earthy means necessarily browns and oranges? But environmental, maybe colors from the environment. The piemontite, which is almost a maroon brown. It's really its own color. If you want to see a swatch, let's see. Here's the soda light genuine. See, it's a sort of a blue gray. Try to get a focus for you here. Hang on. There we go. Oh, on the little one? No. Because none of these are granulating on the small one. I don't think. Well, we did it on a video, so I can go back and look and see. Alrighty, here's the swatch for the piemontite. It's really an interesting kind of a color. It's not brown, it's not red, it's not orange. It's piemontite. Which I know I've probably said this a couple of times, but I'm sure there's probably some region in Italy called Piemont, Piemont, and the earth is, what they make the paint out of is probably mined from there. There's moon glow, and there's genuine hematite. Now see, you're right, Maya, that color does look like moon glow. Maybe it was. But I'm not seeing well, it is spot on for the color. We'll figure it out. Yeah. Function of light 1 says pretty colors. I agree. Alrighty. My Instagram is not connected to the YouTube. Okay. Thank you for that, Flo. And I knew that you must be in Maya's world a little bit because she was. Um, I don't know if it's a function of me being a person with autism, or if I just. I've met a lot of other people who are autistic who really like sorting and categorizing and labeling. And for me to, I've got so many paints and different things to use, and I'll get ideas in my head, and I want to express the idea that's in my head very precisely. And swatches help me do that, um, especially with colors where there's like a very slight visible difference between them. And I'll just go, like, I really want exactly the right red or exactly the right green. So I tend to do quite a few swatches and color charts, and I do refer to them pretty much every time I'm at the workbench making something. So, Andrea, Flo, it is lovely to meet you, um, and hello. Let me catch up on the chat here. So I don't know if it's organized. Like if you were to, I think to the outside eye, anybody who walked in or go, oh my goodness, this is chaos. But if you ask me where something was, I could reach right out and put my hand on it. So it's just how it goes. There's a lot of ways to have your studio, and if it works for you, that's a good way to do it. Aha. So I thought so. I thought I had I mod for Maya from and so I thought I had seen you maybe in her chat there, Flo. So Hannah's taken a break from her tech job. Exactly. That's a good question. Maya asked, do you prefer Andrea or Flo? Right? Yeah. Uh, it can be a little tricky to get the names typed in. I know my name has that extra E in it. It just really throws spell check for a loop. So I tend to answer to anything that's just close to Janelle. So yeah, I find a lot of art products and craft products look different in the they look different in the tube or the pan, or if you're talking about something like stamping inks, rubber stamping inks, those look very different on the pad than they do stamped on paper and dried down. So I find it helpful just to do a lot of swatches. So there was a question earlier about Instagram, and I I don't have an Instagram for this YouTube channel, but I I do use the community posts quite a bit to upload pictures of the pebble drawings and also what we're working on. And I'm a little, probably, last 3 or 4 live streams I haven't uploaded stuff for that. But you can find you can find some higher quality pictures on that community tab, and on those you can click on them and blow them up and get a closer look at anything. Sometimes that's a bit hard to do on the live stream, and especially when we're waiting for the live stream to get processed, the quality is kind of low. But if there's anything that you want to see, um, just yeah, drop a comment, let me know, or you know, tell me here in chat. I'll try to remember. And very often you can find some pictures of the artwork in the community tab. I've had a couple of questions about now I'm pondering, what the Instagram connection is. Um, I suppose it's easy enough to start a second account with Instagram for this content. Because my Instagram is just more, I guess, it's not anything secret, but it's more personal content with sometimes with friends and things, places that I'm going, and so I don't think it's a great idea to tie that to this account because YouTube, in case you guys haven't noticed, is pretty wild and woolly. So there are some hooligans over here. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I want them all up in my personal business. um, Hannah's asking, should she call me Jean or Janelle? I'll answer to either one of them. I think in terms of when it comes to typing, the shorter the better, right? So I'm curious about what kinds of content you would like to see if I was to have an Instagram that went along with this channel. Would you just want to be looking for close-ups of the drawings and paintings that we do, or I was an early adopter with Instagram, and so I got really accustomed to it not having ads, and it had a really nice stream. Like you would open it, and all of your friends and all of their stuff would be right there, and you didn't have anything inserted in that. And when they changed it, particularly when they when they put advertising in it, I really didn't enjoy Instagram as much. So I don't even really update it very much anymore, just because I'm kind of a cranky old person, in case you guys hadn't noticed. And there was a point where it just felt like it was 3 or 4 ads to one post, and then they changed the feed so that I only got selected posts instead of posts from everybody that I followed. And I I liked the people that I followed. I wanted to see everything that they posted. I wanted to have an option to be able to tell it to do that. And so when I got frustrated with it, I kind of changed my mind about it, and I decided that I would look at it until it gave me an ad, and then I would turn the thing off. And so I started that habit, and now they show me one post from somebody I know, and the second post is always an ad. So I only really look at YouTube at Instagram like one post at a time, and frankly, haven't missed it that much. And I don't like the reels on Instagram. So I think they just changed, and I was just like attached to the old stuff. So yeah. Alrighty, checking the chat there. So Craft Zone, you're learning watercoloring, and it would be more helpful if you got to see more of the watercolor techniques. Um, Tonight's stream is unusual in that I am only doing the pebble drawings. Usually I do some watercolor. I don't know. There might be just a 3 or 4 of them where all I've done is draw. So we usually get some of that. Um, Maya is a beautiful. She just does a beautiful job with her watercolors. So if you have you Maya, if you would put a link to your channel in case Hannah has not yet found her way to your channel, because Maya does uh, pretty much her live streams are all watercolor painting, and she's better than I am at getting at keeping the brush on the paper and not getting lost in the yappity yap. The techniques that I'm using are really peculiar to making backgrounds, and strictly speaking, it's not a traditional use of watercolor. That said, so if you're trying to learn how to do classic watercolor, like to make a smooth wash that doesn't have lines, right? That's not the kind of thing that I'm doing here. But if you want to be encouraged to use watercolor in a way that intuitively is fun for you and rewarding for you, then you're in the right place. Because I will tell you, those are your art supplies, and you can do what you want with them. You can get them out, use them with water, mix them up however you want, use whatever tools you want. There are a lot of traditions, and there are a lot of quote unquote rules with watercolor, but it's an extremely versatile medium. You can use it with rubber stamps, you can use it with brushes, you can mix it up and dip a pen in it, you can put it on with your fingers. Um, yeah, I might eventually do some things that are more tutorials on techniques, but my main point with my live streams is to really encourage people to just make art, do things that help your brain calm down, do things that make your heart happy, do things that put a smile on your face. And I mentioned her earlier. I don't think you were in here when we were talking about it. But another artist that I really enjoy her work is Andrea Nelson, and her projects are very accessible. I've done a few of them. Um, she does some neurographic things, and she does some kind of simple, just wonderful things in her watercolor sketchbook. So I really, I think she's a joy to watch, and I think you would do well to follow along with some of the tutorials that she has put out. Yeah. Maya, if you could throw that one up there too. Andrea Nelson Art, I think, is her channel. Well, it looks like it's an active link, so I don't quite know. Well, Hannah, I'll put the links in the description afterwards when I edit the video, so you'll be able to find them there too. Antics, hello. Who are you asking about? Me or Maya? That's true. So Maya says she usually does lives with other people and you don't really talk much about the techniques and she mostly just wings it. But if you ask her questions, she is very happy to explain what she's doing and to even give you a little demonstration. I've learned a ton from watching Maya paint. Yeah. Thank you, Antics. Okay, great. Thank you, Maya. Yeah, I've been. Were you here, Antics, when we did the mix with the big? We just had I had paint all over the place. We were trying to replicate um, lunar violet and lunar blue, and I think we got pretty close. So that one, yeah, that one made a beautiful drawing. And then this is the one from the top of the hour or the top of the show. So I'm really having a lot of fun with these Daniel Smith watercolor sticks. So how are you doing there, Antics? Did you get through the day okay? You must have. You must have because you're here and you're still coherent. I don't know. Next year I'm just going to have to make some sort of a plan because uh, this was a rough one for me. I do have an I have some extended family in town, but I couldn't even get a reply to a text message from them, so it was a little bit tough. Well, I got through it and now I can ignore it for another year, I guess is how I feel. And I had been planning to do a stream with just some pebble drawings because I figured it's even if it's a good day, it's kind of a tough day, and I knew that there would be some people who would like to just come in and hang out and watch the pretty colors and the lines. So I was just gonna shoulda myself. I was just thinking it would have been nice if I'd gotten started with it earlier, but because it does uplift my mood to kind of get on here, and especially when some of you guys show up and chat, and just the drawing does change the way my brain is behaving, especially if it's being very depressed or anxious. This always helps to ease me out of that mode and into a more productive way of thinking and feeling. But I will just like put a stop to that thought about shoulding and woulding, and the live stream got started when it got started, and here we are. It's good. We'll see. It's important to kind of take those thoughts in hand when you can, to recognize when you've got some negative thinking and try to stop that thought. Don't let it start spiraling and dragging you down. Get it redirected to something that's more positive, or maybe not necessarily positive, but something that's more functional, that doesn't operate in a destructive way. And for me, uh, ruminating can be a fairly destructive thought process. Alrighty. Antics. Well, it was good to see you. I'm glad you stopped in. I'm glad you got through your holiday. I always appreciate you stopping by. I appreciate the support. Oh, before you go, I saw your video. Give it a good old thumbs up. Just keep on keeping on. That's the move, I think. Don't let a stumble break your stride. Just pick up and, as best you are able, carry on. Yeah, Maya says, yeah, I can only imagine Turkey Day is a hard one for many people. And I think that's true. Like, I've always, um, there's hard if you're there in a room with all of your extended family, because I don't know if your families are like my families, but it can be hard to be in a room with all of them. Just even when it's good, even when it's going the way it quote unquote should go, it's challenging. It's a lot of noise, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of disruption to the schedule or the ordinary course of life. And then, it there's always somebody in the room whose expectations didn't get met. Like they wanted they wanted apple pie and we only made pumpkin pie or like it's always something. And often there's alcohol involved, so there's, somebody who drinks a little bit too much, and even if it all goes perfectly, you've got this mess to clean up afterwards. Right? You've got this turkey carcass and you've got to take all the meat off the bones and put all the leftovers away, and um, it's like it's a busy day. Like, it's a good day, when it's a good day. But and I think there are a lot of people in the world who are they kind of get forgotten, right? The people without kids or the disabled people or this, the single people. I have more than once had my family go, "Oh, we forgot all about you." Yeah, I noticed. Thanks. you know. Um, yeah, and when I had a group of friends where I lived in the same town, part of what's got me such a lonesome Gus today is that my friends live in other parts of the country. Like my closest friend is a 4 hour drive away. So there have been a few times where I have had a holiday feast and I've invited my friends, and I gotta tell you, two thumbs up to that. Way better than a um, don't get me wrong. I've had some family feasts where it was really lovely, but the ones with friends there's something altogether different. So who knows? Maybe next time this year I'll have made some local friends and we'll put together a friends group Thanksgiving. But here pretty soon the clock is going to strike midnight, and then the day'll be over. We'll have another day to live, another day to do stuff. And then also, one of the things that was kind of a comfort today is I know that when I live stream, a lot of the people that are here are from other countries, so you don't even have this silly American holiday. So um, that was I just had to open that door and walk through it and find all y'all over here. So I'm thankful for international friends. I've got some gratitude for that. And I'm really glad that this year I started the live streaming because it gave me a chance to get to know some people better. And like we were talking about earlier, the technology just wasn't there when I was a young person, but it's here for me now. And it's really cool. And still just it's kind of mind-blowing how people on different continents can spend a little time with each other. Hi, want to come up? You guys, we might have a kitty. You might come here. You come say hello. Nope. All I got was floof tail. Yeah. Come here, bud. Kitty up. Come on. All right, hang on. There it is. It's the floof of many colors. I don't know if you guys can see. She has a lion paw and a tiger paw. What? And she absolutely, absolutely hates the camera. Hi. All right. Okay. Bonus kitty. Alrighty. Well, that's taken us right to the 2-hour mark, so I'm going to wrap it up here. I want to thank you all for coming and spending time. And if you wouldn't mind giving it a thumbs up, a like. I know if you're in the chat, you're already subscribed, and I want to thank you for that. I appreciate it very much. Maya, thank you as always for your help with the modding. And Andrea, it was lovely to get introduced to you, and welcome. Thank you for spending time. And we'll get together on another live stream soon. I'll see you then. Good night, everybody. Thank you. Oh, I almost forgot. I'm trying to remember to do the little art show at the end so that when you come to the live streams and you want to see what we've been up to, you can get a bit of a tour by just skipping to the end of the stream. Thanks.